guys, it's Miss Tab. I am here with chapter 1. We're going to break this down into 2 parts. So the name of this chapter is History and Career Opportunities in Aesthetics. So the first part of the video is going to be on the history, and the second part will be on career opportunities. So it begins with why we study history in the first place. I believe that history and learning the history of your industry is super important. Not only to see where we've been, but you can kind of predict where we're going. Everything in our world, everything in history is cyclical, especially whenever it comes to trends and styles. As we're gonna see, we'll look at different cultures and their ideas of beauty, and also different time periods, and you'll really begin to see those cycles in beauty whenever we move on to the time periods. So we'll start off by looking at different cultures. They break it down with the Egyptians, the Hebrews, the Greeks, the Romans, the Asians, and Africans. Starts off with the Egyptians. They were the first to cultivate beauty and extravagant fashions. A lot of the things that the Egyptians did when it came to beauty rituals were involved in religious ceremonies, especially revolving around death and preparing the body for death and the burial. So they used different elements from the earth, of course, as all of these cultures did. That's where our products today come from. Maybe we don't use the exact same elements found in nature, but we isolate certain compounds from those things in nature to make them what we need them to be today. So staining the fingertips and fingernails, hair dye, tattooing, let's see, using animals to correspond with a god or goddess, that all those things became really popular or were popular with the Egyptian culture. They incorporated grooming and beautification habits within their mummification rites. Cleanliness was very important. So if you ever heard the saying, cleanliness is next to godliness, I believe that's how it goes. You can think of that little saying whenever it comes to the Egyptians and their personification of beauty. And that changes from culture to culture as well as from time to time, as we're going to see throughout the chapter. So next we're going to look at the Hebrews. They were a nomadic people. So whenever you think of a nomadic group of people, they obviously have their own tradition and culture and standards of beauty, but that's going to constantly be influenced from other civilizations and other cultures as they move through different lands. So they were kind of like this amalgamation of all these different cultures and everything. So their cosmetics were primarily used for rituals involving cleanliness and grooming. They used olive and grapeseed oils to moisten and protect the skin. So a lot of these cultures used and saw beauty as not only as a means of beautifying themselves and their surroundings, because as the human animal, that is what we do. Like from the beginning of time, we have constantly found a way to beautify ourselves and our surroundings, but they also saw the function in it, why they needed to maintain some cleanliness and some hygiene. So it talks a little bit about health and everything as well. So your main thing to remember about the Hebrews is going to be that they were a nomadic people, that they used a lot of elements from nature, and that they borrowed from different cultures as well. So you're definitely going to have questions like this on state board from this chapter, maybe just 1 or 2, because it is just a very brief introduction. I'm going to link in the description some papers written by art historians on the history of beauty from some of these cultures. I think it's a fascinating topic, so if you want to dive a little deeper into those, I'll have some reading for you. Let's see, the Greeks. So cosmetics or cosmetology, it comes from the Greek word kosmetikos, meaning skilled in the use of cosmetics. So in ancient Greece, beauty was defined by how the body looked whenever it was naked. So you can think of Greek Olympians and wrestling, and they were very much concerned with the form of the human body. So think of what would highlight your natural physique, your muscles and things like that. So like oiling the body and exfoliating the body, all of those things were really popular in Greek culture. The Romans, of course, you probably are familiar with like a Roman bathhouse, and that was a huge thing for both men and women. They were the first to start using like physical therapies at the bathhouse, like steam rooms and such, as for muscle recovery and just basic relaxation. They saw the benefit in that. They also applied rich oils to the body after they bathed and used these steam houses to keep the skin healthy and attractive. And also, a lot of these cultures think about their home situation was not what it is now. So you're exposed to a lot of the elements then that we aren't. So it's both form and function in beauty, and that it provides you with a nice supple skin, but also protects you from the elements. Because think about it, you know, being out in the elements, in the sun, in the heat, and having dry, cracked, calloused skin is not going to be comfortable. So applying these oils and doing these bath rituals and things like that, it makes the skin look a lot better and also feels a lot better. Asians have a very elaborate culture whenever it comes to beauty. Their rituals were not only religious, but more of just an appreciation for nature and the beauty in our world. And I think that is just an awesome and beautiful concept. So whenever you think of the Asian cultures, think of like a very high standard, perfection. It's like there's one way to do something, and so we do it this way. Very ritualistic. So think of like the Japanese geisha, where they would apply these layers of makeup. There's a lot of symbolism involved in the simplest things, even like body movements. All of these you should remember and reflect on whenever you're thinking of the Asian cultures. Africans, so they distinguished Egyptians from Africans. Obviously, Egypt is in Africa, but it's a different culture. So, and the African section is so short, it's just a very brief paragraph, and really they just kind of touch on their use of elements from nature for hygiene. I mean, that's like a recurring theme in different cultures. But in the link below, I will, there's one of the papers. One of the papers that I'm going to link below will give you more information. The Africans have a very rich beauty culture when it comes to hair, especially. So braiding has been, again, that form and function thing. It was a way to protect the hair. It's protective style. You know, it made things more comfortable, and it's also beautiful. Some very elaborate, beautiful braids, and those patterns of the braids you can see reflected in the artwork of many cultures. You know, as these nomadic peoples traveled through Africa, they saw these elaborate braiding styles and techniques, and they copied and mimicked those forms in their art. So you can see, there are papers written on this topic. You can see that pattern of braiding reflected in pottery from different cultures. So Africans also have a huge, rich history in the beauty industry that goes back, it says here, 4,000 years. So if you want to do more digging on any of these cultures, I highly recommend reading the articles that I'm going to be posting below. There are books you can find on the topic, just really interesting stuff. Okay, from the cultures, we move on to different time periods. So Middle Ages, Renaissance, the Age of Extravagance, to the Victorian Age, the 20th century, and then to us in the 21st century and beyond. So in the Middle Ages, so that is from AD 476 to about 1450. So like a huge time period. And you'll see that with the more rapid spread of information from culture to culture, from different countries, that beauty trends started to evolve more quickly. So now with the internet, we have such an immediate transference of information. Our styles and beauty trends have evolved. They evolve so rapidly. So at this time, it wasn't unheard of for a person to spend their entire life in one area and never travel outside of that area. So of course, things that you see in nature aren't really going to change that much. So the things that you have to pull influence from, they're not going to change. So your style's not going to change as quickly. So in the Middle Ages, beauty was practiced. Tapestries, sculptures, artifacts, towering headdresses, intricate hairstyles, and they also did use cosmetics on the skin and hair. A lot of natural preparations like home remedies and things like that. Bathing was not a daily ritual, but they did use perfumed oils. In the Renaissance, so that was a big transition from medieval to modern history. So shaving and tweezing of the eyebrows became popular. So they would shave or tweeze the eyebrows to make the forehead look larger so that you appeared to be more intellectual. Very interesting. So all you girls and guys out there with the 5 heads, just say it's your big brain. I don't know. So fragrances and cosmetics were used. Highly colored preparations for the lips, cheeks, and eyes were discouraged. So you will see different changes. So you'll see changes from whether or not it was acceptable to have brightly colored makeup from time period to time period. So as you go on from the Renaissance to the Age of Extravagance, of course, the time of Marie Antoinette, then we see the brightly colored makeup preparations. So like the pinks and the oranges and these like bold colors came into popularity. Elaborate cages in the hair and these wigs. Whole gardens going on in the hair pieces. You can watch the movie Marie Antoinette, the one with Kirsten Dunst. I think it's a great movie, just for the costumes alone. From the Age of Extravagance, we move on to the Victorian Age. So the time of Queen Victoria. Modesty was key at this time. So lightly colored preparations of the makeup. You didn't want to look like you had makeup on. You wanted to look very fresh and natural, very demure hairstyles. So you'll see, again, these cycles in the beauty industry where we're going from modesty to extravagance, back to modesty, and we have these things that are evolving constantly. So from this time, the Victorian age, we move on to the 20th century. So that's whenever we really saw a lot of changes. People were traveling around the globe. Things like television, newspapers, magazines were exposing people to other cultures and other styles and trends throughout the world. So things started to change more rapidly. We saw beauty trends evolving from every 100 or so years to every 10 years. Every decade would be like a different style. You could see that evolution happen so fast. Also, the skincare industry really started to take off because people weren't necessarily only trusting like home remedies anymore and natural preparations. People were moving on to things like retin-A, alpha hydroxy acids, Botox. All of these things came into popularity. And then from the 20th century into the 21st century, where we are currently today, we see a much more relaxed approach to hair, makeup, style. That type of thing, what was viewed as proper. Now everyone can have their own style. There's not just one way of doing things. Huge changes. Let's see. Oh, and also with the transference of information, again, the popularity of the internet, like I said, the immediate transference of information. It's just so amazing to me. I find it fascinating, and you will see things change in this industry. Literally at the speed of light. It's so fast. Constantly learning new things, constantly educating yourself. All these technologies that are coming out, whether you choose to go into the med spa or even if you want to focus on something more natural, we are constantly learning more and more and more about plants and herbal medicine. So whatever route you decide to go, I mean, it's just going to be an amazing adventure for you. And then and beyond, of course, right now the medical spa industry has really taken off. But you can really find your place no matter what you want to do, whether you want to work in a day spa, a med spa, you want to be a mobile esthetician, etc. You have so many avenues that are open to you. So with that, we're going to segue into part 2 now, where we're going to talk about different career paths that you can take as an esthetician. I'm sure some of them you've probably never considered. I know whenever I was in school, I didn't even know that some of these paths were open to me. And again, I read this chapter, I took the test on this chapter, but whenever you're in school, you're just trying to move through the information so quickly, you don't really have time to absorb it. It's like, okay, let me learn what I need for this test and move on to the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. So by going through these videos and taking the time, like I said, to absorb that information and kind of let it sink in, I feel that it's just going to help you guys. So yes, with that, that's the end of part 1. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Go ahead and subscribe so that you can be notified whenever I have my next video posted on the next chapter and the next section. So I will add a link somewhere for part 2 of this video where we talk about career paths. So it was great being with you guys today. I will see you in the next video. Have a good day. Bye.